New tonight, a large wastewater reservoir near Tampa Bay in immediate danger of collapsing after the threat of a second breach was detected by drone video. The wastewater spill could destroy water sources, wildlife, and the local economy. The Environmental Protection Agency and the Army Corps of Engineers working to prevent a catastrophic flood. The threat of a complete breach has led to hundreds of evacuations and the partial closing of a major highway. So joining us now on Prime, Ashley Smith, Assistant Professor of Biogeochemistry at the University of Florida. Ashley, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so can you explain to us what exactly is in this wastewater and explain why it's so dangerous?
So the water is a accumulation of all these, a legacy of use in making phosphate, making fertilizers. So this water has nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, and then any other legacy contaminants that are in there too.
Okay, so those nutrients, the legacy contaminants, what is the environmental impact for people who live nearby? Is there a threat of contamination to drinking water? Is there a threat to animals, wildlife?
So drinking water, the county of Manatee County is confident that there's not a drinking water problem right now. If you're on well water, continue to monitor your local government's information to make sure that your well water is still okay. In terms of nutrients from entering to the coastal systems, this is when we get a big problem. So too many nutrients can cause algal blooms, and that's when we can turn our water that, like we often say in Florida, guacamole colored green. Or even tomato soup colored red, sometimes we see.
So right, so those red algae blooms, right? That's what causes it. Will this make them worse potentially?
So the red tide is something that happens in South Florida every year, and it's a special species. And that species, if it's there, when there's extra nitrogen that's coming in from this, like they're pumping into Tampa Bay right now, that extra nitrogen can fuel the growth of that organism and lead to these blooms. So it doesn't actually cause the red tide, but it will fuel it and allow it to continue to grow, with consequences then for water quality, for activities on the beaches, and then ultimately leading to fish kills.
Okay, so maybe not cause it, but certainly make it worse. It'd be safe to say that, right?
For sure.
Okay, so we know that the short-term solution here involves pumping out that wastewater, but how does this differ from the long-term solution? What is the long-term solution here?
Oh, yeah. So they are going to do what they can to get the water to a manageable level and pump that water into Tampa Bay. They are currently pumping water down by Port Manatee, so it's closer to where Tampa Bay dumps into the Gulf of Mexico. And then when that plume of this nutrient water from these ponds gets there, what happens to it next kind of remains to be seen and will depend a little bit on the currents. The long-term solutions, it's hard and expensive to clean up these kinds of ponds. And in this case in particular, it's changed hands a few times. So who pays for that cleanup is unknown.
And just really quickly, so when this water is pumped out, now is the thought here that water, once pumped out into a larger area of water, will just dilute and not be as dangerous then? Yeah,
so there's the age-old saying that pollution, the dilution is the solution to pollution. And that's sort of what we're trying to see, is where that plume goes and if it spreads out enough versus being concentrated.
All right, well, we're going to hope that it does spread out enough. Ashley Smith, thank you so much for your expertise tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.